and welcome to the 2019 FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships. It's the manufacturer series for the top 16 superstars up for you now for the EMEA region, the European region to you and me. My name is Tom Brooks. Alongside me for this one is Chaz Draycott. We're here to guide you through the action. Without further ado then, let's take a look at the point standings for the manufacturer series after 9 rounds. You can see that Williams Koke for BMW is leading the way at the top of the order. 9,112 points is what he has. Close behind him though, in second position, is TRL Lightning, otherwise known of course as Mikhail Hazal. He's on 9,080 points driving the Subaru. Then there's a bit of a gap back, and you can see 4th and 5th place very close in terms of points, but also in terms of the manufacturers that they're driving for. Matty 278 on 8,576 points, TRL Susu on 8,561 points. Both of those drivers here, Chaz, in the Lexus, so this race could be pretty pivotal in their positions and of course determining whether they go through to the World Tour events.
Yeah, of course, and I mean, while they will want to be winning races and doing the best that they can, they've obviously got to keep an eye out for each other and just make sure that they know where their competitors are and what sort of advantage they can get over them. Like you say, looking down the order, very, very close between all those guys. Even 11th place, RC Snake 91 and TRL Adam 18. They're actually tied on points and only 2 points ahead of GTA Tidgeny there in 13th. So it's still all to play for even at this stage in the championship.
Yeah, it certainly is. And one thing to mention to you in the manufacturer series, it doesn't necessarily matter where you finish in the point standings. It matters where you are for that specific manufacturer. So for example, with Lexus, both of those drivers are very close in terms of their point standings. So they'll be wanting to finish as far up the order as possible in order to get themselves through into the next World Tour event, because only one driver from each manufacturer can go through. You can see the global manufacturer ranking here though. Lexus are still at the top of the order, 564 points that they have. That's comprised of all the different regions, as you can see, with Mercedes-Benz there in second position on 530. Very close behind as well is Toyota on 504 in third position. Then you get a little bit further down the order from 4th place all the way down to 5th and even 6th to some extent there as well. You can see very close in the tables here, Chaz, so lots to play for here today.
Yeah, definitely. Not just the drivers, but like you say, the manufacturers so close together as well. So there is plenty to do. And of course, we hope that the on-track action reflects that as well and is just as close.
Speaking of the track then, let's take a closer look, shall we, at the circuit the drivers we will be competing on for this manufacturer series EMEA region race. It's the Sardinia road course. Made its debut, of course, at the World Tour event at the Nürburgring last time out. And you can see here an anti-clockwise circuit, 3.8 kilometres long, comprised of 3 different sectors. Some tight and twisty corners in here, Chaz, including turn 8 and turns 9 and 10 as well. However, lots of fast and flowing ones in the first section.
Yeah, definitely, and as we can see, the elevation change there is quite a steep circuit at points. Turns 1 and turns 8 are going to be pivotal here because they've got long, fast sections leading up to them, big, heavy braking zones, so we're going to be seeing a lot of these guys go for moves into those specific corners, I reckon. We've seen a lot of slipstreaming down the main straight, and of course, with the different cars that these guys are used in as well, you can see there turn 1 at the bottom of his shot. Really, really big lead up to it. They've all got different top speeds, they've all got different aerodynamics, and that's what makes these races so exciting. Yeah,
precisely that. So we'll keep an eye out and see how the drivers will fare. Turn 1 and turn 8, very, very proven overtaking opportunities, and even through the final corner as well, given the length of that start-finish straight, you can potentially have a bit of a run to the line. Let's see what will happen in this manufacturer series race then. Let's have a bit of a closer look, shall we, at the race details first of all. Group 4 cars for the drivers to be competing in for their different manufacturers. Racing hard and medium tyres available for them. They've had a 10-minute qualifying session so far. The grid has already been decided. You can see 10 times fuel consumption, 10 times tyre wear there as well. And of course, they've got those 2 compounds of tyres. In terms of strategy for this one here, Chaz, it's going to be pretty interesting, this, because it's a 9-lap race duration. You can see here the racing hard tyres can technically go the full race distance without a pit stop, but they are a second a lap slower. So will drivers opt to go for the medium tyres, make a pit stop, or maybe will they try and stretch that out to the end of the race?
I think from what we've seen before in other series where they've had either soft or mediums, for example, they may try and stretch those mediums all the way to the end. Like you say, they're losing a second lap on the hard tyres, so I don't think anybody's going to go for those at all. There is actually 15 seconds worth of tyre change, of course, in the pit lane. So it's weighing up the opportunities that you've got in terms of where you might come back out on track, who you're going to be up against when you are back on track, and how hard you're going to need to attack. So I think everyone's going to start on the mediums. I don't think we're going to see many pit stops. They may just try and stretch it to the end.
Well, let's see what the drivers will do then as we head over to the circuit for the race start. Drivers lined up on the grid. You can see Jim B. Racer there, who starts on pole position. Williams Koke in second. TRL Susu in third position, ready to lead the field over the timing line. Interestingly, LZR Lewis at the back there, he's starting for some reason on racing wet tyres. So I'm not quite sure exactly what's happened there. Perhaps some kind of an error for him. Meanwhile, Jim Racer does lead the field over the timing line to get this race underway for the Manufacturer Series EMEA region as they head over the brow of the hill and down in towards that first turn for the first time of asking. The top three line astern as things stand. No moves being made there. Everybody taking it very sensibly through the first corner, and Jim Racer holds on to his lead as things stand.
Looks like Williams Koke went a little bit deep there in the BMW M4 going into turn one. He was a bit later on the brakes, trying to make up a bit of ground, but TRL Susu, as we're on board with him now, he's right on his tail. He misses the apex by quite a bit there, does Koke. They're just getting closer together. There's still no contact between the two of them. Down the inside though, Susu's really piling the pressure on already. He wants to get this done as soon as possible and go chasing after Jim Racer in the lead. Very good pressure that he is putting on Williams Koke for TRL Susu. We look at the top three, that gap already very pronounced in the early stages of this one. Here comes TRL Susu down the inside of Williams Koke into the right-hander of turn 8, and Koke doesn't hold up much of a fight, and Susu is back through. He opts to get a better exit and try and get better drive into the next corner, does Koke there, but isn't able to find a way past Susu at the moment. So great pace from the Lexus driver, and this is exactly what he needs to be doing in terms of that fight in the Manufacturer Series standings as well. The man, of course, who's in the other Lexus is Matty 278, and he's all the way down in 12th position, so no such worries for TRL Susu as things stand. He'll be extending that advantage in the point standings as things go at the moment. But anything can happen in racing, and sometimes it usually does as well, so never say never. Yeah, exactly. I mean, he may sort of have it quite easy at the moment up there, but any sort of battle he gets involved with could really chuck him down the order. We look at Carl Williams here alongside RC Miura, Mercedes against Toyota, the SLS AMG, very pretty car in my opinion. Down the inside of turn one, a little bit of contact maybe as he just runs wide on the apex. They've got the Audi just behind them there. That's GTA Tijney, who I mentioned before, is only 2 points behind the guys ahead of him in the championship. So really good scraps up and down the field here with these three very different cars, to be fair. Oh, a bit of contact there with RC Miura in the Toyota. It knocked him a little bit wide. Not too much of an effect on it though.
Here comes Tijney.
Yeah, he's just chucking it down the inside now. Still side by side. We look at the Mercedes next to him. And he's got it done there, Tom. He's really cleanly gone through. Exactly, great stuff there from GTA Tijney, putting his car exactly where Carl Williams didn't want to, and that's the really unfortunate position of having to attack and defend at the same time. Yeah. It compromises how you can go, and here comes Tijney. He's attacking once again up the inside of RC Miura. Did he manage to get the move done? Not quite through turn number 8 as Carl Williams runs wide behind as well. So RC Miura defends his 7th position in this race. The man in front of him with PR1 Giuseppe there as well, in the middle of the mix in that BMW. No such dramas for him as things stand, but GTA Tijney with a very promising few corners there, making his progress through the field after a difficult qualifying session. Yoma 74 in the forefront of his shot there in 4th position, just running a little bit wide going through that final corner. Is that going to compromise his drive on this start-finish straight? He seems to have good legs behind the wheel of that Jaguar, good straight line speed as we've seen in other regions, so he's able to not come under too much pressure from behind. Here comes Tijney trying to go down the inside of RC Miura. Looks like he was also trying to get himself ahead, and TRL Susu has been given a half-second penalty here for some reason, presumably for exceeding track limits, but that is big disappointment meanwhile for him. And you can see LZR Lewis is now in the pit lane. He's quite clearly realised he's made some kind of a tactical error here with the tyre choice from wet tyres, and is easily, understandably, changing over to racing medium tyres. Here comes Susu down the inside of Williams Koke once again for 2nd position, finds his way through up the inside of the right-hander, but of course he's going to have that half-second penalty going after turn number 8. So you should imagine that Williams Koke will find his way back past with relative ease. Yeah, he should do here. It's a shame for Susu there, but he's trying to make that gap up though. He's really gone for it on this lap. It was a nice move as well. He pulled out at the last second. Here comes the penalty line then, so you'll see him slow down all of a sudden. But you can see he's actually not lost any ground there, to be fair. He keeps the position, which he's going to be very happy with. Of course, he loses a bit of time to Jim Racer in front, who's having quite an easy ride at the moment. But this is a great battle between these pair for the last 2 podium spots. Very impressive stuff indeed there. So TRL Susu does manage to remain ahead of Williams Koke on lap 3 out of 9. That midfield battle, meanwhile, is still intensifying as GTA Tijney has now made his way up into 6th position. We're just looking at him here now ahead of PR1 Giuseppe. But here comes Carl Williams behind the wheel of the Mercedes SLS AMG. He's trying to find his way through as well. He's in the slipstream of the BMW in front. Is he going to duck towards the inside line down towards turn number 1? He's got good straight line speed. He pulls towards the inside, and
and Tidgney also pulls to the inside of TRL Adam as well, so a double overtake for position. Both of those drivers, Tidgney and Carl Williams, making those moves and getting up a position respectively.
That was textbook stuff from those guys as well, doing it nice and cleanly in formation too. Great to see. But TRL Adams not letting him get away with it though, is Tidgney. He's really putting the pressure back on. There was another move just behind them as well.
RC Miura, that was, making ahead of PL1 Yasete. Those two still side by side, as you can see in the background. Yasete with the inside line into the following right-hander, and Miura just has to hold off that charge for a couple more corners. Yeah,
it didn't quite get to the apex, but it has sort of put a stop on Miura's charge there. As we look back from Tidgney now, he's up into 5th position. But Yasete's had a bit of a pull that really. He's dropped down a couple of positions already. But TRL Adam in that Mustang, very menacing looking machine, really starting to put the pressure on now. There's still only 3/10 between Williams, Koke and Susu for 2nd and 3rd as well. So it's not like Susu's really giving him the pace and then run away with it, to be honest. He's still managing to get reeled back in by Williams Koke here, so good ongoing development there. But look at this train of cars behind Tidgney here. Fantastic to see them all in such quick succession. The commitment for every single corner as well. Just a humongous snake of Group 4 cars.
It really is, and we often talk about the midfield battle in this manufacturer series because it does prove to be so tantalising and so close. The top 3 drivers romping away with a 2.5 second advantage over Jovas there in 4th place. Here comes Matti 278 making his ascension through the field after a poor qualifying. He's down the inside of RC Miura, nearly has a bit of a sneaky look at PR1 Yasete at turn number 1 there, just biting off a little bit more than he can chew. And also RC Miura, who's just gone backwards really, is now trying to fight his way back through against Matti 278, and those two were still side by side. RC Miura is still ahead of Matti 278 in this opening sector of the lap, or he's just actually managed to get ahead there, you can see. So changing of positions here at the moment. Just in the background of your shot there as well is the Hyundai of SDL Sun 1K. Just in the background, as we said, so keep an eye out for him. He could prove to be a bit of a dark horse in this one. On board with RC Snake, meanwhile, he's got a great view of the action from 12th position, going in towards turn number 8, trying to send it down the inside. Oh, bit of contact there as Matti makes a bit of a mess of his braking zone. That sends RC Miura off the circuit, and a penalty, quite rightly so there for Matti. Made a complete Horlicks of that braking zone, sent RC Miura off the track, and has sent him tumbling down the timesheet here as well.
Yeah, real shame for him to get the penalty from it, but at the end of the day, he's made the contact. It's affected Miura quite a lot now, down into 14th place. So you saw it all unfold there in front of you, and Matty's going to pay the price for it. So he's got to just deal with it now and try and make the most of what he's got on the road. Well, he's got RC Snake now in the Jaguar making a really good run on him. We saw the Lexus had great straight line speed last time around. Look at the GTR here of SDL and FaZe just behind them as well. The Nissan, very angry looking bit of kit as well. He's going to look down the inside as well. It's turn 1, is he? No, he just brakes about the same time as RC Snake there.
Yeah, finds his way through regardless on Matti 278. So Matti going backwards, and of course that's before he served his 5-second penalty. So surely he's going to drop back to 15th position. He'll be ahead of LZR Lewis, of course, who's had to make that pit stop earlier on, but following starting on the wrong compound of tyres. Speaking of tyres as well here, this is where we would expect drivers to be making those pit stops now. Pit window very much open, so it looks like they're going to try and stretch those tyres out and probably go to the end of the race. The thing is, if they do pit and they opt for the a new set of tyres, of course they'll have fresher rubber at the end of the race, but they're going to lose so much in terms of track position. Unless everybody else follows suit, it's not going to be a tactic that will pay off for them.
No, definitely not. And I think with the longer it goes on and the less of the race there is to go, the less time they've got to make it back up. So they need to sort of do it right at the midpoint of the race. I think it's gone past the point where it'd be worth it now. So these guys have just got to make sure that over these last few laps they're going to be looking after the tyres, keeping it smooth. As we see Jim Racer running a bit wide there, you can see the ongoing battle behind him now. They're within a second here, so they're going to be in slipstream range. Susu is going to have the run, of course, but Williams Koke is the one to watch because he's got double slipstream of these guys now in the BMW M4. Both pretty big cars as well, that Lexus and that BMW, so they do punch quite a hole in the air. But he's on the brakes, a little bit squirrely, but he seemed to brake a bit early there. He's just going to be playing it safe, as I was saying, just to make sure that he has the pace.
Here's Williams.
There he is, down the inside.
Yeah, nicely done there from Carl Williams as well, getting himself ahead of the Mustang up into 6th position there for the British driver. And TRL Adam not taking things lying down, trying to find his way back through against the Mercedes, and it's now a British 5-6, as you can see GTA Tidgney in the front of your shot there in the Audi, doing a good job behind the wheel of that machine so far. Haven't seen lightning pace from him so far this event, but regardless, still very impressive to see him out on track and doing so well inside the top 5. representing Audi, of course, in this manufacturer series. He'll be hoping to make it to the next World Tour event. You can see as they go through the right-hander up the hill and in towards turn number 8. This is the huge climb on the circuit. That big elevation change, as you can see, quite pronounced as we ride on board with GTA Chichny here in 5th position.
It's quite a painful corner to come out of in these cars as well, because it's such a slow corner going into such a steep hill. You get on the power and it feels like the car's going nowhere. And when you're trying to get a cut back or make a move,
here's Williams, he's run wide. What's happened here to Carl Williams? Some kind of an error there for the British driver, and that is an absolute disaster for the Mercedes. He runs off circuit. Whether, I don't know, he had some kind of a wheel-related issue or something along the lines of that. It just seemed like everything went wrong there for him in the space of a corner. He just went straight off to the scene of the accident.
Yeah, it seemed like some sort of failure. We'll have another look at it here.
Here's Matty 278. Now here we are. Here's Carl Williams then going through to the left-hander. He's following Tichney.
Oh, it just
straight on.
It starts going
his
left,
wheel's not turning, so he's had some kind of a disconnection, I think, with his controller or something along the lines of that. Something's gone wrong there for him.
That's a real shame.
Whether he's playing with a pad or whether he's playing with a wheel, maybe his pad is disconnected, or maybe his wheel has suffered some kind of a technical gremlin, but regardless, that is an absolute disaster there for Carl Williams, who sits at the side of the circuit, going tumbling down the timing sheet here. You can see Jim B. Racer, now the race leader, as we ride on board with him, but TRL Susu is having a great attack in these latter stages of this one. We're on the penultimate lap here as Susu pulls towards the outside. They're going into a right-hander, so he won't have track position. He won't have a lot of room to try and make a move, and Koke there in the background, ready to try and pick up the pieces should these two come to blows here as well. This is a great three-way scrap for the race lead in the closing stages of this one. Jim B. Racer defends his line. He defends the inside line into the following right-hander of turn 8 as they go side by side. Nearly a bit of contact between them as Susu is shuffled out to the outer side of the curb. He's going to get a good exit though through there, and Williams Koke also getting great drive as they come the hill through in towards turn number 9. This is a great scrap for position, and Jim B. Racer, whether his tyres have gone in these closing stages, whether Susu's just got more pace behind him, but you can see how hard Jim B. Racer is having to defend for position at the moment, and surely he's going to be an absolute sitting duck coming onto the straight for the last time of asking.
Well, you've got to think, though, he's going to be tucked up right behind him here. The one to watch is going to be Williams Koke, because he's going to have a bit of a longer run on these guys. Doesn't get the optimum run, but now Susu has to pull out of the slipstream. So this means that Jim B. Racer is going to be giving Williams Koke all of the slipstream, gives him a shove down the straight. Says, come on, son, get on with it. We're going into a hard braking zone here, then. Williams Koke is just going to be holding back here, I think, Tom. He's just going to be rubbing his hands together and thinking, what if these guys make contact?
There's a bit of a bump, though, there into the back of TRL Susu into second position. Didn't manage to cause him too much drama. Riding on board with Koke, Jim B. Racer's a little bit wide through the left-hander. He goes defensive immediately. He knows that Susu is ready to attack and are ready to pounce. Brilliant bit of defensive driving there. Great sweep across the circuit for Jim B. Racer as Susu is trying to attack here. The Frenchman absolutely on it behind the wheel of the Lexus. Lexus, of course, leading the manufacturer series standings going into this EMEA race. And through the left-hander we go, up the hill, in towards that hard braking zone of turn number 8. Is the Frenchman going to have a bit of a lunge? Jim goes defensive once again, putting his car exactly where Susu doesn't want him to. Down the inside he is, and holding that line, holding track position. Koke here is going to fancy his chances as well as we come through into the left-hander. Jim B. Racer still defending. This is an absolute masterclass of driving for the Honda NSX driver. Can he hold on to the very end of this one? Susu has a lunge down the inside on the final lap. Oh, and Jim B. Racer gets punted wide. He goes off and he spins nearly round as well. Susu gets a penalty for contact there, and Williams Koke then is going to come over the line. He kept himself calm and comfortable, and he's going to take victory here in the Manufacturers Series EMEA region race. Susu finishes on the road first, but Williams Koke for BMW takes victory in second. Yomas finishes now in second, actually, as TRL Susu gets demoted down to third position at the checkered flag, and Jim B. Racer will be wondering where it all went wrong. He finishes in fourth position after that contact.
What an incredible finish to the race that was then. Drama at the end, it's what we always love to see. But wow, what Williams Koke, though, like I say, played it safe, managed to keep his nose clean, but the contact was just a real shame between Susu and Jim Racer. Yomas actually got promoted up into second place there, finishing third on the road. But Jim B. Racer still brings it home in fourth, so he's not got too much to be angry about. But the contact, pretty unnecessary in my opinion, but he ran wide. They're all going for one piece of track. And it's always going to happen when these guys are so hungry for that race win.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see a replay, actually, of that incident and try and piece together exactly what happened, because, well, you saw that Susu was up the inside there of Jim B. Racer. Those two were running side by side, and looks like they just ran out of room at the end of that one. The upshot is that Williams Koke, we said, of course, he was keeping himself out of trouble and ready to pick up the pieces, and that is exactly what the Spaniard did. For BMW, he takes victory here. Jomas in second, Susu with that penalty on the podium in third position. Jim B Racer, disappointment for the Honda driver, drove absolutely faultlessly in that one and finished fourth on the road. TRL Manu Rodri there in ninth position, just completing the top 10 as PR1 Yasete. Disappointment for RC Miura with a race where he just ended up going backwards throughout the entirety of it there. You can see Matty 278 also not making the progress in the Lexus that he would have liked. Fastest lap actually from 14th position there of Garazza in the Ford. Didn't mention him at all in that race, but that's very impressive to see him so fast.
Yeah, I think he made a pit stop towards the end there, so I think when he was on the medium tyres, a bit of clear air in front of him, he's just gone for it just to go and get the fastest lap. I think he didn't have the race that he would have wanted, but it's still always good to see that he's got the pace like that. I mean, as a driver coming away from an event like this, to see that you have got the fastest lap of the race, it's a nice little confidence booster for the next one.
And what about Carl Williams as well? Absolute disappointment there for the British driver. An issue that wasn't his fault at all by the looks of things. Some kind of a technical gremlin for Carl Williams related to either his wheel or his controller put him out of contention when he was running so strongly behind the wheel of the Mercedes SLS AMG. So what does that mean for the overall point standings then after the 10th round of the Manufacturers Series? Well, it does mean that Williams Koke still leads the way. However, TRL Susu makes some good ground despite not finishing on the podium after that penalty. Jomas as well taking great advantage. They also demote Matty 278 and LZR Lewis down the order.
Yeah, there's plenty of shuffling around as well on the right-hand side. Manu Rodri and RC Miura, they've both gone up a place. BFR Devil Soul and HRG RK23. It's quite interesting. Those four guys, all Toyota drivers as well. So that's really, really coming down to breaking point for these guys now to make sure who gets through.
Well, exactly. If you look at Manu Rodri there in 8th position, he's on 8,365 points, but he's got a trio of Toyotas very, very close behind. So if anything happens to Manu Rodri here, if he makes any kind of mistakes in the next round of the Manufacturers Series, you can guarantee RC Miura, BFR Devil Soul and HRG RK23 are ready there to pounce and take advantage.
Yeah, definitely. And you've just got to have your wits about you in every single round. And even though we've had 10 rounds already, you never know, do you? When it gets closer to it, you know, people are under more pressure, so it's going to be good to see how that unfolds come the end of the season.
In terms of the global manufacturer standings then, this is how things sit for the different manufacturers. You can see Lexus still lead the way, 574 points. Very close, though, behind Mercedes-Benz in second position on 530. But even closer, third and fourth place, Toyota and Jaguar there. 513 for Toyota, 507 for Jaguar. Very much all to play for in that top three.
Yeah, and you can see that it reflects even further down the order as well. Peugeot and Chevrolet tied on 419 points for 8th position. And then in 10th there, Hyundai, 403. And even closer behind that, Porsche and Audi. So, you know, five-way scrap there for those five positions. And there's only, 20, 30 points in that? That's just incredibly close, even after 10 rounds.
It really does help Audi here as well. That strong performance we saw from GTA Tijni out on circuit here today as well. That just keeps them on the fringes of that top 12. Exactly what he needed to do and what the manufacturer needed them to do as well. Anyway, speaking of racing and speaking of World Tour events, the next World Tour event is going to be taking place on the 24th and 25th of August in New York. Hope you can join us there because we'll have action from the Manufacturers Series and the Nations Cup as well. Whatever you do, be sure to tune in because if it's as action-packed as we saw out on circuit, you can guarantee it is going to be unmissable.